The context of your research explains in which domain you execute your research, the type of research you're working on, and how it is organized and managed. It should give your audience the big picture view on your work. The context of your research should be as specific as possible without being too technical. Let's have a look at the examples on the slide. So this one reads, I research the semiconductor properties and the photovoltaic behavior of 6 4BIPV modules. I'm pretty sure not too many people in the room understand this statement. At least not without Googling it. It is clearly meant for fellow researchers who work in the same domain. Now have a look at this. Same message, different wording. My research domain is in new materials research and its applications for solar energy. We research the performance of new types of solar cells and their production processes. I'll let you judge for yourself which one is the most obvious or most understandable for you, but at least I think with this message we can reach a much broader audience than with the previous one. Now we should also talk about the type of research that you're conducting. The type of research indicates, for example, whether you do fundamental research, applied research, or contract research. Also, you can tell us something about how your research is organized. Do you work in a small, focused local team? Or is your work part of a large research project with many international partners? Or are you engaged in joint research with industry? Expressing your research problem in a couple of sentences is probably the biggest challenge of this exercise. However, remember what Leonardo da Vinci said about this. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The example in the slide can serve as a good guideline. It does not talk about the complex challenges in the physical and chemical domain of new materials research, but rather it relates the research to tangible or known problem areas that a broad professional audience can associate with it. How do we make solar energy economically feasible or more scalable? This very well summarizes the research question, and it also gives the explanation. Performance of solar cells is too low. Only 15 to 20% of energy is transformed into electrical energy. This can be understood by a broad audience. And of course, you know that there are very complicated physical and chemical phenomena related to it. But that's not the issue here. This is not the message we want to convey. We want to make sure that people understand what you're doing by expressing it in a concise but clear way. Next, you will have to tell something about the solutions you are looking at. Tell us how you plan to solve the problems. Which functions do you implement in your solution? And also emphasize the unique differentiators of your work. What makes your approach so unique? Again, the example from the solar energy project can serve as a guideline. Let's have a look at the functions and differentiators of this project. The first statement: we produce solar cell prototypes using a different semiconductor material than silicon. 6. Well, this clearly explains the functionality. We are producing solar cells with a new type of material. The second statement is even stronger. It is a semiconductor that allows different and cheaper production processes. Here we clearly talk about the uniqueness of the approach and the potential benefits. If production becomes cheaper, we can make more competitive products and we can look at many different new application areas. And this is confirmed also by the third statement. The production processes allow to create solar cells in many different forms and formats and could be integrated in building materials such as metal foils, tiles, and facade decorations. Reading this, I can already think of a couple of very nice applications and opportunities. And I am not a new material scientist or even a solar energy expert. I just want to look at opportunities for applying it. When you are talking about the new approaches and the innovative solutions of your research work, you should always stress the uniqueness of your work. Why is it so different? Why is it better? What makes it so special? Because this is what captures people's attention and will make them start thinking about how your unique differentiators can be beneficial to their own environment. This is how creative solutions are born. Please try to identify 2 or 3 unique differentiators and explain why they are so unique. Now let's have a look again at the example from the solar energy research. The usage of new materials and new production processes for solar cells has 2 unique differentiators compared to existing technologies. First, the solar cells can be deposited on any kind of carrier or substrate, even plastics or building materials. And secondly, the production of the solar cells can now be done in continuous processing and not in discrete steps. This is a big step forward towards higher production volumes and lower costs. As a scientist, you are well aware about other research in your domain. Research teams in other universities or countries may be trying to solve the same or a similar research problem using different approaches. By providing a short overview of the alternative solutions to your research problem, your audience will be able to position your solutions with respect to other initiatives. This will not only allow them to compare the solutions, but it can also provide inspiration on how to improve your solution. Alternative solutions in the solar energy project include the fact that the classical solar cells can continue to improve or that new production processes can be invented. You should also keep an eye on approaches and technologies that solve the same problem in a completely different way. If wind energy becomes much cheaper than solar energy, it may completely overtake the solar energy market. The last part of the research canvas covers the intellectual property that is generated by your research. This has 2 dimensions. First, how and in what form are the research results captured? And secondly, who is the owner of this intellectual property? Intellectual property, or IP, comes in many different forms. It can be protected by new patents that your research organization plans to file, or it can be copyright on software programs, data, or designs. Open source software is also a form of IP that allows you to share your work with the research community, and depending on how it is generated and the type of open source license you take, it will provide you with a certain level of protection. You also need to identify who is the owner of the IP. If you are employed by a research organization, they will be the owner. But if you work in a consortium with many partners, the IP will probably be shared amongst the participants. For the purpose of driving innovation based on your research, it is important to know who owns the intellectual property. This completes our walkthrough of the research canvas. Now you have to apply this to your own research project and make a first draft of your canvas prior to the start of the Opportunity Recognition Workshop. During the first day of the workshop, we will discuss your research canvas together with the other participants. We will work and rework it so that it becomes a very comprehensive description that can be the basis for identifying opportunities that lead to innovative products and services. You can find a template of the research canvas in the download section of the website. Once you have completed it, you should follow the instructions to upload it to the online workspace of the workshop. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you at the workshop and to learn about your research projects and the opportunities that are related to it.